Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This week's show, we talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Poker Face, Season 1, Episode 7. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, this episode revolves around kind of, I don't know if this is considered NASCAR race. I think it would be, but it's racing. I don't think it's considered NASCAR, but whatever the case may be, it's racing. I even love Charlie has the same thing that a lot of people have when it comes to racing. They're like, oh, but I mean, you're just going in a circle. I mean, you're turning left and left and left and left. Like, you really, that's all there is to it. There's more to it. That's the oversimplification. But when you're not into it, that is all it seems like to me. Because you could break any sport down to be like, oh, is that all you really do? I'm sure people will be like, no, it's not like that. There's a lot more athleticism involved. Racing is just this, and it is what it is. But I'm saying, like, you could super oversimplify any sport. It doesn't take away the technicality and the skill, especially even driving and racing. Even if you are just going in a giant circle, like there is still skill and timing to it all. But either way, we have Tim Blake Nelson. I was like, hey, yo, playing Keith, who is like this older veteran. He comes from a long lineage of like it was his dad, and then I think his dad's dad, and obviously even his daughter Katie wants to take part in this. So he's the older veteran in this, kind of got this lineage he has to keep up to, not even just his own legacy, but his family's legacy. But he's kind of getting to that point where he's losing his edge, and then he's going up against Davis, played by Charles Melton. And I was like, isn't that who I think it is? And yeah, it's freaking Reggie from Riverdale. He'll always just be Reggie from one of the Reggies from Riverdale to me. But yeah, he's the young buck, which he sucks big time. I even love, like, is it Donna, Keith's wife, being like, oh yeah, something ain't right about that boy. There's some evil in him. And it's like, yeah, it is. Because, I mean, what he does when he, like, shows up in their place, he's recording it, he messes up their garden, and then, like, takes their mailbox and drags it away. You're like, wow. I don't use the word a lot, but I legitimately was like, wow, he's a massive C word, isn't he? Because I know YouTube is not a fan of that word, so we'll say that. I could always just say, I'll see you next Tuesday as well. But I was like, wow, that's a very see you next Tuesday by putting like Y at the end of that thing to do. I was like, that's super messed up. So it's this rivalry, especially because Keith is like losing his edge, as he calls it, like he's losing the flow because his hands start shaking, getting nervous, and he ends up losing the race. And it's like, at very least, if he could have won this race, it could have, I mean, even placing like second or where, because he kind of got knocked out because Davis kind of knocked him out, like spun him out, and he just kind of got passed by so many people. So he needed more points to kind of enter like even like the championships, but it's just kind of knocked him out of the standings for that. And so he was supposed to retire because I thought it was like, oh, you want to spend more time with your family. I thought that's the angle of it, but it's like, no, his daughter wants to kind of pick up the mantle. And it's like, right, this was supposed to be his like last time racing. Like everyone knew that, but he was like, no, that's speculation, because he doesn't want to go out on a loss. And he's like, because if I do, what does that mean for Katie? But it's like, no, it's not about Katie's legacy. It's about yourself. It's your ego not wanting you don't want to go out on a loss. You want to be on top as a winner. But it's like, once you got that win, once you got that second wind in you, like who's to say you're ever going to pass the torch on to your daughter, because you don't want to give up the reins to this, but especially not to some bastard like Davis. So, and initially I wanted to find out, like, are we going to find out there's a little bit more to Davis, that maybe he isn't who we think he is? And it's like, the kid can be kind-hearted, but the problem is like that he's got the devil in him, and it just kind of like rears its ugly head, and it's just kind of like, you kind of like he's just one of those people that once he gets angry, he gets lost in a rage, and he can't see anything but red. And that, once again, as someone who has major anger issues, I totally get it. But so we find out that Keith upset about everything that Davis did, even to the point Donna's like, hey, put that little bastard in his place. Then when it came time, like, he goes over to their place, calls, because they also run a pickup truck, not pickup truck, a towing company or whatever. So called him out on a fake call, snuck in there and messed with some stuff underneath the car. And then when the race happens, the car, Davis car crashes and Keith's like super happy and elated about it. What I thought was interesting is at the time Greg was like, no, no, no. And then we hard cut to, okay, let's find out how Charlie got mixed up in none of this. Immediately my brain was like, are we going to find out someone else was in that car? I kind of had a feeling like it would, like, I had early feelings like, there's no way it's going to be like someone, but like the no, no, no made me feel like it wasn't Davis in that car. But like I said, rewind a little bit, kind of get to see the different perspective on things from Charlie, because she's actually like works at the little go-kart place, and she works with Davis's mom, Jean. Also, one of her coworkers is Randy, and I kept thinking the entire episode, I'm like, why does that actor look so familiar? The actor's name is Jack Alcott, and I was like, what do I know him from? I looked it up. I really like this series, but it's been a while, so I don't remember. It was a limited series called The Good Lord Bird. I don't remember who he was in that. But the other thing I know him from is he plays Dexter's son Harrison in Dexter New Blood. He plays like the older, like present day version of him. I was like, oh, that's why you look so familiar, because his hair is a little longer and he's got like facial hair, so that's what's throwing me. Plus, that was like 2 or 3 years ago. I think that was like a year or two prior to this like coming out, you know. But whatever, I'm getting on tangents and all that. So. But like I said, it seemed like Davis could be reasonable enough, but like I said, he has the anger issue in him. And so when the time comes, like obviously he's like venting a lot of this to Charlie, and she's kind of like, I don't really get the whole race car thing. And then he's like, all right, I bet I'm gonna show you with this car. Like, and she's playing the game and she's still not getting it, and he's trying to push her to it, and she's kind of, all right, it's not as just like as simple as I thought it was. I love, like, he tried to make a move, and she's like, whoa, that's kind of going to be messy. And it's kind of, he's like, well, had to take a shot. And she's like, you know, and she's like, almost like, hey, I appreciate it. Which I'm like, of course you got to take a shot. I mean, aside from Charlie just being Charlie, like, I mean, just being, like, realistic about it, it's Natasha Lyonne, too. So it's kind of like anyone in that situation would take a shot. Like, you know, come on. You know, because if you don't know about me, too, I'm into, like, I think women with raspier voices are really sexy. So, like, on top of like her voice and her accent and just being very pretty, like it's just like, you know, Natasha Lyonne's like the entire package, you know. So it's just like one of those things. Like, hey, I get it, you know. I should also, you know, divert this a little bit into like a pervy conversation to some extent. Is this the first time Natasha Lyonne's worn shorts in the show? I feel like it is, because I feel like I would have paid more notice of that. I don't know, because I was staring at her legs a lot every time she was in shorts in this. I think it's also because it's off the heels of, funny enough, last episode where I was commenting on Jamila Jamil's legs and being like, hey, I think I might have a thing for legs because I appreciate a good set of legs. This made me go like, wow, I'm staring at Natasha Lyonne's legs a lot. That's kind of wild. I mean, to be fair, it's unfair because like the framing of like her walking towards Keith, you know, Tim Blake's character, she was wearing those shoes, and I thought they did a nice job accentuating her legs, and then just seeing her legs, I'm like, and I kept staring at it, and I was like, oh God, is this making me realize I do have like a leg fetish? Is that better or worse than having a foot fetish? Maybe it's on the same level. I don't know, but yeah, it's doing something to me in my head where I'm like, I think I might be borderlining on a leg fetish if I don't already have one. Oh boy, that was my takeaway from all of that. Katie shows up to challenge him because she wants to prove herself not only to her dad, but it's like, yo, my dad keeps losing you, it won't be me. And so they do like the bumper car, like they do the race around the track at the go-kart place. She whoops him multiple times, and once again, he's getting more and more and more frustrated. That's what causes him to like wow out at like Keith's home the way he did. But his mom had to be like, yo, calm your shit down. Like, you want to take all that anger out on him, do it at the racetrack. Don't do it outside of that, because that will end you up in trouble or jail. Because she's like, you get that from Big Ed, your grandfather, because he had that in him too. Which, you know, and it was good advice, because his mom was like, you're going to go over there tomorrow and you're going to apologize to him. But then like he's drinking, lamenting about that. Instead of him taking Keith's fake call, his mom did. She went out because she wanted him to stay there and sober up. But then he happens to be home. He sees Keith doing what he does. But rather than saying anything, he leaves things as they are. In fact, he tampers with the car even more. And I'm like, what are you getting out of this? And then he does the biggest piece of shit move of he makes he makes Katie fill in for him because he's like, oh, like you want to prove yourself on the track, like we might as well take a spin in my car. Your dad won't give you that time of day, so you got to prove yourself here. Which I'm like, don't get it twisted. Keith is a piece of shit, dude. We kind of have that same. It's the same situation as like last episode where we had our two Tim Meadows and Ellen Barkin's characters like being all about like killing Jamila Jamil's character, but then like you had that woman who found out, and rather than reporting them for being the killers that they are, what did she do? She blackmailed them. It's like, yes, they're worse off because they're the murderers, but you still suck because you're blackmailing someone. In this situation, it's like hey, yes, Keith did something effed up first. Now, was he planning on trying to kill Davis? No. Was he too hurt about the fact that he might have been hurt or killed? I don't know if he the crash was pretty severe. The car was damaged and there was fire. He didn't seem too like worried and concerned about it. But who knows if it's like his intention might not have been like I think he even says later on he didn't plan on killing anyone. The reason why the situation ended up even worse, it's because of what Davis did in tampering with the seat, and that made like Katie suffer even more damages and whatnot, right? So it is the thing of, but the damage to the car would have still been the same. It's just the driver wouldn't have suffered as much. But that's, like I said, because of what Davis did. So it's like, it still would have, it's, who knows if the end result, like I said, because of the seatbelt and everything, it would not have been as bad, but it's still kind of a sucky thing to do what he did. So I don't think it was attempted murder. Davis's situation turns into quite a bit of an attempted murder situation. So, and that's the interesting thing about it, though. It's like he knows about Charlie's thing because they had the whole back and forth about because they had that thing where the kid was like, "Hey, I should get in the car first because I have cancer," and she's like, "Bullshit," and he's like, "Well, what was that about?" It's saying like I don't. It's like, no, but you don't have cancer. And Davis is like, "Well, how do you know?" He's like, "Well, I kind of have, like a dog that can sniff out cancer." He's like, "I'm like that with bullshit." So the recurring bit is like, "Oh yeah, do your dog cancer thing," and she's like, "I'm now regretting that that's the metaphor we're going with my thing, but sure, dog cancer." Because that is a thing of like, there are some, I don't know if like there's scientific things, but it's kind of like, I don't even know if it be counted as like superstition, but I think there have been scientific studies in the past. I remember stuff being discussed about that in the past of like dogs legitimately being able to smell cancer in people, just because I guess it's like they have their such heightened senses, and then like cancer, maybe it like in the body it releases certain chemicals or something that a dog recognizes like something's off about my owner or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember, but I do feel like I remember studies being done about that. But either way, him manipulating Charlie's situation to be like, yeah, oh God, what was it? He said something and Charlie called him out on it. He's like, "You're right. I am like, I do feel like something's more going on here." And he plays like the fool, and he goes with her and Randy to examine the car because he says, "God, something's not right." And then it's like, "Oh my God, they find the fish hook." And it's like, "Oh my God, the car was tampered with. Oh my God, I think Keith might have done it." But then it's like, oh, and especially later on when it's like, "Oh yeah, like we did get like this call." And it's like, oh, like, and it's Keith specifically, not Keith, sorry. And Davis specifically, the way he phrases it, he never let it be known that his mom is the one who answered the call and that he stayed, which ended up being something kind of screws him over later. But once again, he knows not to lie in front of Charlie. But like I said, he specifically framed things in a way where he wasn't lying. I was like, oh, that's so twisted. Because usually people find out about Charlie's thing, they never really see it in action, and I think that's usually after the fact, after the murder's already happened, they find out about Charlie being able to tell the truth, know the truth. So it's usually afterwards when the investigation has happened. It's never like a beginning. Like, it's rare cases where, well, with the exception of this in like episode 1, where people knowing ahead of time that she can, sniff out bullshit, and they kind of use it to their advantage, so. I just thought that was kind of fascinating how he manipulated the situation. Him and Randy getting riled up like, "Yo, we're going to handle Keith," and then being like, "Yo, why don't you go do your whole doll cancer thing and confront Keith? And it happens. What I thought was so interesting is when Keith was like, oh, like what happened to my daughter? I had nothing to do with it. And Charlie sees like he's lying. It's funny enough that, you know, he's talking to his wife and his wife is like, what was that about? And he's like, nothing. And she's the one that says bullshit. I was like, oh, that's funny, you know, because she's got a bullshit meter when it comes to, I mean, maybe she just in general has a really good bullshit meter, not obviously to the same extent that Charlie's is, but Donna has one that she got to read on her husband. What I wasn't expecting storyline wise was him confessing to his crime and his, you know, and so once again, it's like, I mean, that's the interesting thing about this. Like, there was no murder. There were attempted murders and all that and stuff. Once again, it sucked what Keith did. It's way worse what Davis did. And so now it's like, wow, he confessed and everything. So I was curious what Davis was going to do. And he kind of got what he wanted in the end because now Keith is out of the competition and he lost his sponsors. And now those sponsors are going to be his. So it seemed like, oh, everything's coming up Davis. But I'm like, how is this going to come falling apart? It's like, someone's got to find out about what you did. And it's not until he was talking to that kid that was like, oh my God, I'm worried about the seatbelts. He's like, what happened to Katie's seatbelt was a freak accident. And in that moment, Charlie overhears it and sees it. And she's like, bullshit. She's like, damn it, I now know that he did this. Talking to Randy about like what happened with the seatbelt thing, how hard it is to kind of like take that apart and take that off. Then it's not till she heard from Jean where it's like, yeah, I went out, but Davis stayed behind. So she goes to their garage, but she doesn't know what she's fully looking for. And then he catches her in the garage and he's like, yo, what's that about? She's like, yeah, I know that you were behind the Katie situation. Cause she's like, the pieces to this all was, you said it was like a gear line or whatever it was connected to hook. Anything, like it could have been a piece of string, a fishing line. You immediately were like, it was a gear line. And hey, when Keith confessed, he said it was a gear line. And he's like, well, yeah, so what? What's the point? It's like, you could have guessed anything, but you were so certain it was that. It's like, because you saw him do it and then you did this. And even she's like, yo, you're a monster for doing that, you know? And it's like, for her, it's like, that's the thing. She's like, you are willing to go this far. You and Keith are willing to go this far for something that about, you know, growing in a circle. And he's like, yes. The fact is, I am willing to go this far should be kind of a sign. And luckily, Jean was there because I'm like, I don't think he's going to like try and kill you. I mean, his mom is in like the house, but it's like she comes out front and luckily Charlie opens the garage and it's like, okay. So it's like, man, that's like, are you really about to try and like bash Charlie's head? And like, you weren't going to get away with that if you tried to do that now. So, but Charlie's kind of like, yeah, she saw that ugly side. Which is so sad because it's like, she had a conversation with the kid and kind of was like, hey, there's a good enough kid in there. Like, you're not totally bad. But now it's like, oh wow, I've seen a really piece of shit side of you. So as she was leaving, he was chasing her down in the tow truck. And luckily she took her lessons from the game and was able to apply it. And so the next day, I was like, how's this going to play out? And she confronts him. And by the time she's confronting him, I'm looking at the timer. I'm like, there's only like a minute left in this episode. So this isn't going to be like he's going to be found out. The only way it's going to happen is if he confesses, but he's never going to confess. There's not enough and this is one of those instances where it's like, it's all conjecture. There's no physical evidence. The only way the truth is going to come out, just like Keith's situation, just like in Davis's situation, the same thing would be applicable only if he confesses. Now, could he and would he ever confess? Who knows? But Charlie gets inside of his head and calls him out for being what he is. It's like, you're a monster. Another proof thing that proved this for her was like, when you were like, you knew not to be in that car because it was like you made sure not to leave your Big Ed, his grandfather's photo, because he's such an inspiration to you. You made sure not to leave that photo in that car, even though like you always take it with you. You took it out because you knew there was a chance the car was going to catch on fire. It's like, once again, she's like, it takes a monster. You're a real monster kid to do something like that. But she brings up like, oh, I had a conversation with Donna about Keith and the whole like losing the flow thing. And she's like, yes, at the very least he confessed he did something effed up. But she's like, Donna was proud of him because it's like, that's the man I married, like knowing like, man, I did something terrible like that. Luckily no one died, but you didn't care. You were willing to kill somebody. Once again, that wasn't Keith's intention. It was kind of effed up what he did. Once again, not as bad as Davis's situation, but it's like now she's getting in his head about all of this. And it's just kind of like, right. Like, and he like, I forgot, she had brought up the whole Katie is up and she's raring to go. And it's like, we saw during the kart racing that she will beat you over and over and over again. So that was already in his mind. And now she's like, yeah, give it a couple months, maybe a year, she will beat you. But he's like, no, I'm the one running sports, this game now. This is my turn. And she's like, yeah, we both know that's bullshit. I was like, oh, two things. I love that she was also in her David Caruso bag in this episode, because there was like, I think that moment and an earlier moment where it's like, oh, we should inspect the car. And then Natasha Lee, Charlie was like, oh, this is about to get comedic. And she puts the shades on. Side note, because they reference CSI multiple times throughout this episode, like, oh, we're about to CSI this thing, like blacklight and everything. If you've never seen a CSI show, specifically CSI Miami, what I mean by David Caruso, there was a thing, like every time you had the cold opening of that show, anytime like it's like, all right, the murder takes place, the cops are there to investigate it, David Caruso's character would have like a one-liner. It'd either be a pun or just some straight up regular one or two liner. He'd put his shades on and then it immediately kicks into the intro. I'm not going to attempt that because I don't have the vocal range or power singing skills to do it. But if you're familiar with CSI Miami, you know what I'm talking about. So that's why it's multiple times where she was like, oh, this is about to get comedic. And she puts on the shades. And this time when she looks at him, it's like, we both know that's bullshit. And puts the shades on. I was like, once again, giving off some very David Caruso energy. And I feel like that's kind of what they were memeing at. But, you know, maybe that's just me reading too much into it. But I love the twist where it's just like, yeah, his hand is shaking at the end, so he is losing his edge. So Katie will eventually beat him, and he'll be basically in the same spot Keith is. So whether he'll ever confess, who knows? But he'll lose everything in the end, so that's all that matters. He sacrificed so much to get here just to kind of lose it all, and it's like, you know, like I said, he was already in his head and angry because Katie beat him on like the cart situation, and it's like now in the big leagues, like she's going to wipe the floor with you. Because even Keith himself was like, my father had the talent and she does, but I never did. So even he knows like what she's capable of. So that's extra reason why he wasn't ready to pass the torch yet, because he knows like she's going to shoot way past me when it comes to this legacy. She's going to outshine me in every way because she has the talent and I don't. So yeah, very interesting. Like I said, interesting all around how this all played out. Once again, just both another aspect of the episode of multiple people in the episode being shitty, but you know, varying degrees of it, and also like they're not being like, I mean, like last episode there was no proper arrest, but you can assume there was arrest after everything played out. But the way that last episode ended off on like, oh, like it's just, well, they most likely got arrested, but it was like after the play and they put on their performance, but we just don't see it. And this episode where it's a situation of like, well, most likely the cops won't get further involved, but it's just about Davis's like legacy will kind of be tarnished going forward. It's like you went through so much to get this far and you let your anger get the best of you, and it's going to be your undoing because now you're rattled, and who knows if you'll ever be able to unrattle yourself. I mean, Keith didn't like calm his hand down until after he performed his stunt, so it's just an interesting way to end the episode and just like conclusion to everything. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us, what the next case will end up being. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.